If you'd like to participate in the discussion or leave us feedback, you can contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. If you like the content and want to hear more of the show, subscribing will ensure you don't miss an episode. New episodes come out almost every Wednesday. Also, please review, tell a friend about the podcast, or share with your gaming group. Now sit back and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Level Up Gaming Podcast. My name is Aaron, and joining me once again, I have Josh. Josh, how are you doing today?
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I've been real busy. How about you?
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like I've been doing a lot. A lot of things happening.
Yeah, just all over the place. My kids, my daughter's got her a play. It's this week. Obviously not by the time you dear listeners are listening to it, but so I am out every night and I have no time to prep for things. It's rough.
yeah. I mean, and I believe me, I know. The last two times I've been trying to record with you, it's been like,
well, and sometimes
something comes up.
It's just like I can't come up with a script. I can't come up with, obviously not a script, but like an outline, or topics. And I'm really glad that I've got you to bounce ideas off of. You suggest this one tonight, and I just threw together a couple of notes. I don't even know where it's going to go. So I think it's important that we both contribute here.
Yes. So the topic I want to talk about, obviously, and this is, it's relevant also in the podcasting space, but the importance of having more than one GM in your group. Okay. And this came about because, Jared, if you're listening to this, I'm correlating this to our group here. Jared's going through some things. Jared needed time off as the GM. If Jared was our only GM in our group, we would not be able to play game at all. Okay. And that's the fundamental thing is why you need to have more than one GM in your group. Because if one of your guys, can't do it for whatever reason, it's, commitments or, and all these things are understandable. People have stuff that goes on in their life. You need to have somebody else who can step up to the plate and fill in that time. Otherwise, the hobby that you play goes by the wayside. You can't play it because there's only one person who's not capable but willing to GM.
Yeah, I think and having multiple GMs has intrinsic benefits to the group beyond just, hey, if the one guy can't do it or runs out of story or gets sick, nobody can play. There's just a real benefit to having multiple people that can step up and tell stories, that can add to stories, that can just get into it and offer a environment in which creativity can bounce off of each other.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's exactly it. It's not again, I'm coming at it from this one angle here, but you're completely right, which is that having somebody else GM in your group, one, it allows a different player dynamic to form at your group because you're able to insert the GM as the player. And so now you get to see how they interact with different players and how they sort of interact throughout your game. And you might just think rotating one person, that's not going to do very much. It can do a lot for a group because that person could be more gung-ho, could be more strategical, in the way that they play characters. It could change just the direction of games. And then two, you're right. It allows for a completely different type of game and type of storytelling to be present at your table, which allows players to experience different things. And it allows you to, the other hidden benefit is that if you are the GM, the other GM, or one of many GMs, I would encourage you to have everybody GM at your table at least once. It allows you to see things from a different angle if you get to step into that role and understand sort of how to orchestrate a game, and it really makes you a better player in a lot of that regard, because you're able to then now come at problems that you might face in a game from a different angle that like you wouldn't have thought originally to do.
Yeah. No, I've got a similar situation, except that nobody has to step away. It's that the group that I'm playing with on Tuesdays has multiple game masters. I think there's one guy out of the group who hasn't told a story, and it's just fair because like he's in a different time zone and he crashes partway through the last hour of the game anyway. It's we just assume he's there and just got quiet sometimes. But like we've all sort of volunteered for different stories. Whoever's got one when the last one ends, like we'll pick up the next week or a week or two after, depending on how long it takes to prep and get ready. But I've been thinking about, I've pitched this a couple times, and like it's gotten some really good, like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know how we do that. I want your opinion on this. Do you like where every game master tells their own story, their own world? Or would you like to tell a story in a shared world where
Well,
I tell a
you
story?
already know where
and
I
then you tell
reside because we tell a story in a shared world. That's
Mhm.
that is the way we do it. What we try not to do is it's shared world but separated storylines. So I'm not interjecting on a storyline that you've chosen to run. But it is within the same universe. So anything that I put out within the game, you may use. And then there's some other loose rules that we apply over that, but I prefer that one because there's continuity within the characters. But it also depends on how long are the games that you're telling. So like that could change a very, this whole thing, which is that if you're expecting everybody to tell very long games, like games that span over like the course of a year, then having completely different stories and completely different worlds is nice because it's refreshing. So like there's benefits to both sides of how that works.
Yeah, we've been doing it where everybody's telling a different story. And to that end, it's almost all of us have told in different systems. I've told stories in 4 different systems now. We've had a couple run D&D. We've had a couple. I'm doing Pathfinder now. We had Cyberpunk. We had Cairn. We've had White Wolf. We had Paranoia. We had Star Wars, Edge of the Empire, or Edge of the, I don't know, it's one of those, really Fate systems. We had Genesis. Like, we've tried different systems and different stories, and I think, I know we've talked about this before on the podcast, how different systems, the way that they approach problem solving, the way they approach combat, the way they approach investigation really flavors the actual story that you're telling with them. And I've seen that quite a bit in the games. And having different people use different systems, I've seen it also where even with the same system, 2 different GMs will flavor the way that system tells a story. And I think it's very interesting to see. And I think it's useful if I'm telling a story to understand what options are available to me that I wouldn't normally get if I am just sitting back, telling stories all the time or, building out a single world. I like having that viewpoint of alternate people and alternate systems. I do have to say, switching systems every time we start a new game has been rough with, like learning curves. Because if you've been playing one system for, close to a year and then switch over to a different system, those first couple of weeks, you're just like, I don't even know what I'm rolling. Where is that on a character sheet? Where are my character sheets?
Yeah, so that's hard when you're in different systems, even like if you're telling different stories going system to system, it becomes, there's a learning curve or an adjustment curve into how that system runs, the power scaling, how you level up in that system, all the mechanics of the system that are not familiar to your group. A good thing about having the multiple GMs, like you said, you can tell in all those different stories because choose your favorite. If you want to do something that you've never done before, it's always nice to do that in a different system. But it can be a bit of a debacle having to jump between all those systems. And just again, it's not like it's impossible. It's just that there are some rough edges around like jumping into a new system. That's like I'm like it's not annoying. It's not any of these other things. It's just like you just have to learn some different mechanics.
And it's very much a KYP, but it's like it's not know your players, it's know your partners. When you're all, you've got an option to GM and anybody could be it. It's a partnership at that table more than anything until the story starts, in which case, once it takes over. But if you've got good people that you're playing with, then that want systems, who want to try out new things, they're willing to take those rough edges. And I think it's really benefited the group and how we tell stories. One of the things that I don't care for with this everybody gets their own story, everybody gets their own world thing is that a lot of times we get to the end of a story and there's more to do in the world. There's more that could go on, but it's over now. And coming back to it is just not happen, or if it does, it'll be you telling another story in, a year or so, and hopefully you kept all the character sheets.
Yeah, it is hard when you jump completely different systems, different stories to then return to an older story because you've obviously broken continuity with the association in the world, and thus you lose that context there, and a lot of the things that maybe you ended the game on like a tremendous high. Like obviously you always want to end a game and you want it to go fairly well. We in the past we've always used the baseball analogy that you want your games to just be a nice base hit, okay, and like it doesn't they don't have to be home runs. You just want a nice base hit, like you did a good job when you stepped up, to GM. And if you let's say that you tap in a telegame that's like excellent, it ends, it's a home run, like you have a lot of highs in that game that make it where if the next GM were to pick up with those characters in like the next arc of the story in that world, it would run really, really smooth, especially because like you think about like it's not that your players don't know who everybody is, but starting fresh is hard, and the chemistry of the players playing their characters is something that you can't just immediately transfer and replicate when you jump to a completely new story. And like that's difficult. Like obviously that's one of the nice things about having a consistent GM is that you never have to lose that bit of like the camaraderie and like the cohesiveness of the group.
Yes. Characters are like player characters have been an issue. We've gotten around some of that by sort of, okay, when we switch between games, a lot of people play similar characters in different systems. And some NPCs seem to exist within the multiverse. we have NPCs that exist both in Star Wars and in Final Fantasy and in Cyberpunk, and it's just the same guy. We're not going to question it.
Again, NPCs generally you don't need to question why they're there or what.
Yeah. It's the same person across multiple stories, and that can be a little fun trope. It can be a little thing at the table, just a callback. But having similar characters or similar character types is a shorthand to get back into the character's spirit. But at the same time, it really does feel like when we're switching characters and closing somebody out after story is done, it feels like a really big one shot where the character you don't connect as well to it. It's not as this is not my character forever. This is my character for the next couple of months, and it's disposable. Not as much as a one shot where write it like you stole it, but more like this has a shelf life, and if it breaks, I'm not really gonna lose any sleep over it.
Yeah, again, these are advantages and disadvantages of longer and shorter games as well. It is tough. Like again, you jump around games like that, it's tough. Now, regardless of that, the pro side of this is that having if that motivates somebody else to be a GM, like I'll take that any day over not having anybody else who can tell a story at the table.
Yes, absolutely. We've had a couple of times where we finish a story and then it's like, I don't have anything in the can. Do you guys have anything in the can? Do you have a story you want to tell? Well, I don't really have. I've got an idea of one. It'll take me a week or two to make one. Like, okay. Well, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm bad with that too. Like, I when it comes to GMing, I procrastinate like crazy, and I'm like, I got to get something. Like, if I just devoted like 10% more energy to producing a game, like not even that much more energy, I could, I got plenty of weeks to be able to produce like a lot of better games. And and I could do more stuff. And I know I've in my current game, I've bought myself time. I'm probably telling the next game as well. And I'd like to tell the next game just to give like more time to the other guys to kind of figure out their games, flesh out their games. But I know they're a lot like me. Like really, Jared is the only one in our group who like his passion is GMing. Like he loves to be the GM and he loves to set up games. He will devote like a couple hours on this day to like sit down and isolate and create stuff for his game. And his games, it's evidently clear that because he's that passionate about it, that his games have like a certain je ne sais quoi. Okay, like it's really it really shows in the preparedness of the games that he puts in front of us. That doesn't mean that like we haven't told fun games and enjoyable games and good games and all that stuff, but his tend to have more consistency in like if this is the bar for good, which is like that we're like you're just trying to tell like that good game. I think a lot of us hit that, and a lot of his games raise above that bar because he adds just that extra little bit of effort. And like,
I think it's a really great thing to have at a table, especially if you're learning to be a GM or jamming other games on the side, is to work with a game master that like gives a crap. Because you could be like, oh, I could do that. Oh, that's a good idea. Where'd you figure that one out? And we really should take the time and effort to learn from other game masters to see how they do things. And playing at a table with multiple game masters allows you to do that, not just as an observer, but as an active participant in the game. which means you can see it from both sides. You can see it from the how do you tell a story and how does that method of telling it affect the players. Um, so it's really a good idea uh, to step up and have multiple game masters at the table. The question is, um, I know you said everybody should do one, and I think you're right. But maybe we need to talk about at some point convincing somebody to be a game master who hasn't done one already.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the hard thing. So, like, you can. I saw your little thing about round robin versus volunteering. So, I mean, our system is very much a volunteering system, which is just if you have a game, step up and tell a game. Now, there is a level of what I would call nobody should back to back their games generally, unless like you absolutely need to do that. And nobody should, so like that comes into the whole thing, which is like, you shouldn't feel obligated to tell a story, but then you might be ping ponging between two people, which is better than not, having like two people. But then, some people never tell a story at the table, and everybody has told stories at our table, but, it takes time and effort to do story prep. And like, there is a level of effort that you have to involve yourself in, just like minimally to get a story off the ground. And I'm not saying that you can't take our let's make a one shot thing and, here's our template, take it, run it. You got yourself a game. It doesn't take that long to generate that prep, but you still have to do the prep.
What I find, I've heard people say that they don't have a story in them, and I don't buy it. I think that everybody's got a story in them. They may not know how to get it out, and that's why I think being in the hot seat is useful, because it is like, hey, you have talents that you just have never explored. You've got abilities you've never tried. And sometimes, being forced to do that, even in a safe environment where you're with friends who aren't going to judge you and have all done the same thing that you're doing right now, allows you to try something out that you haven't done before. And you might find it very fun. I know that I have, and I think other people will. That's why I like the idea of a round robin. But if you're going to do a round robin rather than a volunteer, I would say that those stories should be kept shorter in a round robin than like a volunteer. When we're doing the volunteer in our game, there are one shots and there are, year-long games. I think the longest a game
that's what happens,
is like a year and a half. Yeah.
That's what happens. Like, I've told a lot of games that I thought were going to be one shots. The game I'm telling right now, I thought was going to be a one shot. Okay. It's gone 3 sessions, got on to its 4th. Okay. And it's like, yeah, when they get to the end of it, they're gonna be like, wow, we really took her. I basically just said, like, okay, listen, I'm just gonna let them take this at their own pace. They're having fun with talking to all these different NPCs around the town. I'm like, I'm gonna let them just do what they want to do. I thought they were gonna like beeline to the end of it real quick at the beginning of it. I didn't have a ton of meat on those bones. I had enough, but like, and they should come out after they've completed the game. Hopefully, I'm still playing the game. This is crazy. But no, there's just not a lot that I put into it. It was enough to I was just trying to buy myself some time to put together a better cohesive story for like the next game effectively. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this will at least allow us to do game for a short period of time, which is sort of like that. Let's make a one shot template. Like, if you need to be able to put together a game so that way your group can keep gaming and You don't have to worry too much about like the pressure to tell a very long game. Like that's the great thing about like those one-shot stories. And the round robin works great for that because everybody can get a little exposure to doing that. If they flop, they flop. There's not a lot of time wasted or effort put into them,
Mhm.
but you still get to have fun with your friends at the table and do that. Everybody gets a little shot at telling their own little story.
Yeah, and I think I like the template that we've put together for those some of the one shots because it's very much it's cookie cutter. You can just walk in and be like, I want to add sprinkles here. I'd like to add frosting there, and it's done. It's not like you don't have to go and write the great American novel. These are overly complicated Mad Libs. But that's it. You get an idea to start with and just fill in the blanks, and then everything sort of falls into place. And it would make it a lot easier for a new player, a new game master, to step into that role. I do like the volunteering because it does let you like build up a big story and go for a big long story if you've got one in you. But yeah, it does mean that if you want to tell a story, but you're in the middle of somebody else's story and you're like, oh, no, I just gotta wait until this one's over. That's an annoyance. But it's not like it's not a terrible thing. It just means
I get it's not the worst thing. If you really have a story you want to tell, it can be annoying in a volunteering situation because somebody could tell a very long game. And then you're now like sitting there like, well, when do I get to tell my story? When do I get to tell my story? Like, that's a good problem to have. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad problem to have. Like,
no, we get to have fun for months on end. Terrible.
Oh no, I get to enjoy this story, and then I get to tell a really like awesome story. It gives you time to also marinate and think about like what you might want to do. It is hard. I will say this: it is hard as a player when you're deep into a game to start thinking about what your next game is going to be. Like, again, everybody has lives. Once you're away from the table, this is the reason why a lot of people don't GM is the fact that like you have to devote some of that free time to putting like a little bit of effort into creating these games. So, the volunteering is nice. But you get the variation in the game sizes there, but like I don't think there's any reason why you can't do a little bit of both. You can volunteer for a little bit and then say like, hey, you should just let's have you run a game. Let's just do something quick and easy and dirty, like, and hear them out. Like if they say, well, I don't have any good ideas, like you can help encourage people who don't like to GM or don't feel like they're capable of it by being like listen, here's a bunch of great ideas, or listen, I'm touting our own podcast here. Okay, let's make a one-shot series. Come with some prompts, okay? Listen, every time we do one, okay, every time we do one of those, I have not thought of the game that we are going to tell until 10 minutes before the pod.
Yeah, we sit on the call before we start recording and be like, hey, do any of these names do anything for you? And we pick like one or two of them. We're like, okay, we're going to do this one. And then what you hear in the podcast is us coming up with it live. I mean, not live, it's recorded, but like at the time of the recording, that is the first time some of those thoughts ever enter our heads. It is, and we throw together whole stories in 20, 30 minutes, flesh them out. You can have a whole thing ready and running with an hour's worth of work.
Yeah. So lean on your table to help inspire you for that next thing too. And also hear out what players maybe want to do, their motivations. I'd like to play a game that's like this, or you gotta like lots of great ways to get inspiration for how you could tell that game. And I would agree to maybe sprinkle in some of the people who don't usually GM, like maybe kind of tell them that they're GM.
I'd like to throw one other thing out before we leave the whole let's make a one-shot template. We do it together, me and you.
Yes.
And when we do those let's make a one-shots, we come up with ideas and we share those ideas and we merge those ideas into a new story, into something different. And that in and of itself is the benefit of having multiple storytellers. Now, you may not have that same sort of experience at a table with a bunch of GMs because you are going to be you should be coming up with your own story and bringing it to the table, and everybody's going to be players. But having other people you can bounce ideas off of that you can co-create with, share that creative experience, allows you to have a much more robust and interesting story because, like we've said before, and I'll continue to say, everybody's got their blind spots. Everybody's got stories that they fall back on or tropes that they use frequently, and having another person to recognize, identify, or just throw different ideas at you allows you to be creative in ways that you're not normally creative. And that's a benefit of having multiple game masters at a table, multiple storytellers at a table, is that you can learn different ways of doing things. I was talking about, I want to tell a good story, but I'm in the middle of somebody else's story. You're talking about, the worst thing you could be is you've got more time to storytell. I think the worst thing that can be in that situation is I hear a good idea from the other game master in their game before I'm ready to tell mine, and I've got to rewrite everything because I'm like, oh no, that's an excellent idea. I should do it this way. And it just like,
Discipline, Josh. Discipline. Okay. You tell your current story, you sprinkle in some of those ideas, and then you follow up that story with that great idea.
Yeah.
I know you lack the discipline. Okay.
MVP. And no scope creep on my stories. Let's keep it down to the sprints.
What animal best describes you as a GM? A squirrel.
I got nuts buried everywhere. Golden retriever. Because anytime ball. Yeah, no. I think there's so many benefits to having multiple game masters at the table. There's people you can work with. There's different ways you can learn things. It gives people time off. It allows you to try different systems, expand on the same world in different ways. There's just there's so many options that's beneficial for. And if you haven't been a game master before, but have a gaming group you work with, offer to tell a story. And, you can take one of our one-shots, you can find one-shots online and just try something, read through it, familiarize yourself with the information and go for it. And I think you're going to have a great time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Do you have anything else you want to add to this one, Josh?
That was me adding stuff.
Okay. All right. You finished. I want to make sure you get the last word there. Okay. If you have any thoughts on having a second GM or why you think it might be important or not important to have a second GM, let us know. Level Up Your Gaming Podcast at gmail.com or facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. Well, the podcast is also on YouTube, so you can smash like button there, subscribe there if that's your listening medium. Otherwise, we are on all the podcasting sites, so go ahead and download the podcast, subscribe to it, review it, recommend it to a friend, all those good things, and that'll wrap us up for the week. So for Josh, I'm Aaron. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.